Tear down your vision board. Manifesting is a paralyzing psychological poison silently destroying your future. You aren't attracting success, you are becoming a helpless cosmic beggar. Listen to the very end to uncover the brutal, terrifying truth that will violently shatter this matrix of illusion. Picture yourself sitting in the suffocating silence of a dimly lit room. The only light bleeds from a glowing monitor, casting long, distorted shadows against a wall covered in a vision board. Magazine cutouts of gleaming supercars, coastal mansions, bank accounts with impossible numbers, and toxic positivity quotes stare back at you. You close your eyes, plunging into a grand cinematic spectacle inside your own mind. In this psychological movie, you are already a millionaire. You own the world. You can literally feel the salty ocean breeze sweeping across the balcony of your imaginary estate. You smile, utterly convinced that the universe is capturing this high-frequency vibration and will soon drop an Easter egg of destiny into your lap. But then you open your eyes. The room is still cramped. The unpaid bills are still piled on the desk. Reality remains an unyielding, grey expanse of stagnation. The crushing weight of that moment, the immense void between your grandiose imaginary efforts and a reality that has not shifted a single inch, breeds a profound, paralyzing guilt. You start tearing yourself apart, wondering if you lacked faith, if your frequency was too low, or if you somehow manifested the wrong way. Before we tear down this devastating lie and uncover the brutal truth together, Lorvuentrevelk 05 welcomes you to a journey of psychological liberation. If you want to break free from the matrix of modern illusions and build a mind of steel, hit that subscribe button right now to support the channel, fueling our drive to bring you more raw, unfiltered truths in the future. Now, listen closely. The harsh truth is that you are not wrong for desiring a better life, you have simply fallen into one of the most sophisticated, insidious psychological traps of the digital age. It is the trap of profound passivity perfectly camouflaged under the glittering veil of spirituality and the law of attraction. From a neuroscientific perspective, this process of passive manifesting is nothing but a sweet, paralyzing poison. When you close your eyes and visualize a completed goal with hyperrealistic intensity, your brain is utterly incapable of distinguishing between physical reality and pure imagination. It instantly hijacks your reward system, unleashing a massive flood of dopamine and serotonin that washes over your nervous system. You feel deeply satisfied, proud, and triumphant. But here is the silent tragedy: dopamine was biologically engineered by evolution to be the raw fuel that forces human beings to take physical action, to hunt, to survive, and to conquer adversity. By prematurely consuming this neurochemical fuel through the sheer act of imagining success, you completely obliterate the core biological drive required to actually move your muscles, get up, and do the bleeding work. You are feeding yourself a hallucination of progress, manufacturing a counterfeit sense of achievement without shedding a single drop of sweat. Slowly and silently, you morph into a helpless addict, hopelessly dependent on the intoxicating high of your own unearned dreams. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung once issued a chilling warning about the terrifying power of the unconscious mind. When you merely sit there, using your conscious mind to weave pink-tinted illusions, you are completely abandoning the shadow of your subconscious. You leave your inherent laziness, your paralyzing fear of failure, and your deeply rooted habits of procrastination entirely unchecked, allowing them to freely steer the wheel of your destiny. Your conscious mind is gently sung to sleep by repetitive, empty positive affirmations, while your lazy subconscious secretly drags you deeper into the suffocating quicksand of absolute immobility. Desire utterly devoid of execution is nothing but aimless, chaotic energy. It is exactly like pouring high-octane fuel into a massive engine and striking a match, but deliberately refusing to connect that engine to the gears. The fuel violently combusts, turning into thick, choking black smoke of regret and exhaustion, yet the vehicle of your life absolutely refuses to roll forward even a single millimeter. This culture of passive manifestation has not made us masters of our fate, it has reduced us to pathetic cosmic beggars, sitting idly in the dark, desperately waiting for a miracle that is never going to come. To pull ourselves from this suffocating quicksand of absolute immobility, we must violently sever the cord of magical thinking and turn our gaze toward a philosophy forged not in comfortable armchairs, but in the brutal trenches of ancient existence. The Stoics of ancient Greece and Rome, men who endured plagues, exile, slavery, and war, did not waste a single breath trying to attract a better reality through sheer thought. They survived and conquered because they mastered the most fundamental, grounding principle of human agency, the dichotomy of control. When you subscribe to the modern manifestation doctrine, you are essentially given an impossible, maddening psychological task. You are told that your thoughts must control the infinite complexities of the external universe. You are burdened with the delusion that if a business fails, if an illness strikes, or if an economic collapse wipes out your savings, it is somehow due to a subtle flaw in your energetic frequency. This is not empowerment, it is a recipe for catastrophic neurosis. You end up shouldering the agonizing weight of events you have absolutely zero physical influence over. Stoicism shatters this toxic mirror. It grabs you by the shoulders and forcefully reminds you that the universe is vast, indifferent, and governed by chaotic forces completely blind to your desires. The weather, the economy, the opinions of others, the viral algorithm, the market fluctuations, all of these belong to the external domain. You cannot think them into submission. But what you do control is an impregnable fortress within your own mind, your perceptions, your immediate decisions, and your physical actions. By drawing a violent, uncompromising line in the sand between what is yours and what belongs to fate, you experience a profound, breathtaking psychological relief. The immense burden of playing God evaporates instantly. You no longer have to frantically police every fleeting negative thought out of fear that it might accidentally manifest a car crash or a financial ruin. Instead, all of your scattered, anxious energy is suddenly compressed into a razor-sharp, blinding laser beam of focused action. You stop worrying about whether the universe will hand you $1 million, and you start agonizing over whether you put in the necessary 4 hours of deep, unbroken work today. You stop obsessing over the finish line and begin worshipping the immediate step right in front of you. This is the death of the passive dreamer and the birth of the pragmatic warrior. The Stoic does not visualize the gold medal, the Stoic visualizes the agonizing burn of the muscle tearing during training, preparing the mind to endure the necessary suffering. By relocating your entire sense of self-worth from the uncontrollable outcome to the tightly controlled effort, you become psychologically untouchable. Whether the external world rewards you with wild success or punishes you with spectacular failure, your internal foundation remains completely unshakable because your goal was never to manipulate the universe. Your goal was simply to master yourself. This radical shift in perspective is the ultimate antidote to the paralyzing guilt of manifestation culture, returning your locus of control firmly back into your own calloused hands. Once you accept that the external universe is entirely indifferent to your vision board, you are forced to look at the towering obstacles in your life not as toxic vibrations to be wished away, but as the very raw material of your absolute transformation. The law of attraction demands an environment of sterile, toxic positivity, instructing you to forcefully ignore the negative, to look away from your pain, and to constantly protect your fragile frequency from anything that feels uncomfortable. It breeds a generation of psychological glass, brittle, easily shattered by the slightest hint of real-world friction. But the human spirit was never meant to be preserved in bubble wrap. Like a sword being pounded into shape on a blacksmith's anvil, human greatness requires the devastating blows of adversity. The Stoics understood this terrifying truth and captured it in a concept so powerful it can alter the trajectory of your life in an instant: amor fati, the passionate love of one's fate. Amor fati is not mere resignation. It is not quietly accepting defeat while secretly wishing things were different. It is a fierce, almost predatory embrace of exactly what is happening to you, no matter how ugly, painful, or unfair it may seem. When the ancient philosopher Epictetus was enslaved and had his leg intentionally broken by his master, he did not try to manifest an alternate reality. He looked at his crippled limb and chose to weaponize his suffering, realizing that while his body was chained, his mind had just been liberated from the fear of physical destruction. When your business goes bankrupt, when someone betrays you, when you find yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. with a chest full of anxiety, the modern world tells you to escape. It tells you to distract yourself, or to desperately visualize a better tomorrow. The Stoic tells you to sink your teeth into that pain. You must look at the wreckage of your failure and say, "This is exactly what I needed." The obstacle is not blocking your path, the obstacle has just become your path. Every rejection is a brutal mentor teaching you resilience. Every financial loss is an expensive seminar on risk management. Every broken heart is a masterclass in emotional autonomy. When you stop resisting the dark elements of your life and start consuming them as fuel, you become an unstoppable force of nature. A fire does not wish for the wind to stop, a fire uses the wind to spread across the forest, consuming everything in its path. By demanding that reality be smooth, you rob yourself of the friction required to build traction. The sweat, the blood, the crushing exhaustion, and the bitter taste of defeat, these are not signs that your manifestation is failing. These are the sacred markers of genuine human endeavor. Embracing amor fati means you no longer wait for the storm to pass so you can finally be happy. You learn to stand naked in the pouring rain, staring up at the lightning, smiling with bleeding lips, deeply grateful for the agonizing privilege of being tested by reality. Embracing the brutal forge of reality, however, requires much more than a mere shift in psychological perspective. It demands the deliberate construction of an unyielding, unbreakable architecture of daily execution. The grandest illusion perpetuated by the self-help industry is the romanticization of motivation. We are culturally conditioned to believe that greatness is born from sudden, explosive bursts of divine inspiration, a moment of profound alignment where the stars orchestrate your sudden surge of energy. You sit around waiting to feel ready. You wait for the perfect morning routine, the right mood, the precise alignment of your chakras to finally sit down and do the work. This is a tragic, infantile fantasy. Motivation is a fleeting, unreliable chemical rush. It is a fair-weather friend that abandons you the second the alarm clock screams at 4:30 a.m. in a freezing, pitch-black room. If you base your life's trajectory on how you feel, you will remain trapped in a perpetual cycle of starting and stopping, a victim to the erratic tides of your own biology. Stoic action is profoundly unsexy. It strips away the cinematic glamour of success and reduces it to a cold, calculated, and relentless rhythm of discipline. It is about building an architectural system of habits so robust that it completely bypasses your emotional state. The Stoic understands that the mind is a chaotic battleground of rational intent and primal laziness, so they do not negotiate with their feelings. When you build the architecture of discipline, you strip away the illusion of choice. You do not ask yourself if you feel like going to the gym, if you feel like writing that proposal, or if you feel like making those grueling sales calls. The decision was already made days, months, or years ago. You simply execute the script. You transform yourself from a fragile creature of emotion into a cold, efficient machine of forward momentum. This is where the monumental gap between the dreamer and the builder is finally revealed. The dreamer spends 3 hours meticulously curating a vision board, cutting out pictures of a sprawling mansion and an imported sports car, drowning in an artificial sea of unearned dopamine. The builder ignores the vision entirely. The builder focuses intensely on the singular, boring brick sitting in front of them right now. They mix the mortar, align the edges, and lay that one brick as perfectly as humanly possible, fully aware that the process is monotonous, agonizing, and entirely devoid of immediate applause. They understand that a towering cathedral is not manifested into existence by hoping, it is dragged into reality through thousands of hours of bleeding fingers, aching backs, and silent, unnoticed dedication. You must fall in love with the suffocating boredom of consistency. You must learn to derive a savage joy from the repetitive, mundane tasks that the rest of the world desperately avoids. When you stop relying on the universe to send you a sign and start trusting the brutal, mechanical consistency of your own daily habits, you cease to be a passive consumer of your own life and become its undisputed architect. Through the relentless, unglamorous laying of these daily bricks, amidst the agonizing silence of your own profound discipline, you ultimately stumble upon the most beautifully terrifying paradox of human existence. For years, you were told that freedom meant possessing everything you ever desired, that ultimate liberation was reaching a mystical state where your thoughts effortlessly commanded the physical world to bend to your whims. But as the facade of the law of attraction crumbles into dust, replaced by the cold, heavy iron of Stoic reality, you realize that true freedom has absolutely nothing to do with what you own or what the universe gives you. True, unshakable freedom is found in the terrifying, solitary embrace of absolute responsibility. When you look in the mirror and finally admit that no cosmic force is coming to save you, that no high-frequency vibration will magically deposit millions into your bank account, and that your failures are entirely your own doing, something incredible happens. The heavy chains of victimhood shatter. The bitter resentment toward a world that hasn't recognized your potential evaporates. If everything is on your shoulders, then the power to change everything is also entirely within your grasp. You realize that the universe owes you absolutely nothing, and that is not a tragedy, it is the most empowering realization a human being can experience. It means your life is your own. Your suffering is your own. Your ultimate triumph, forged in the fires of your own sweat and sacrifice, will be solely your own. This is the peak of the Stoic mountain. It is a place of profound psychological quietness. You are no longer frantically trying to manipulate reality with forced positive affirmations. You walk through life with the calm, dangerous confidence of someone who knows they can survive the storm, not because they are lucky, but because they built the damn ship themselves. You look at the chaotic, unpredictable world, and you do not ask it to be easier, you demand of yourself to be stronger. The vision boards, the secret energetic frequencies, the passive waiting in dimly lit rooms, they are all left behind, relics of a weaker version of yourself who was afraid of the dark. You step out into the harsh, blinding light of reality, willing to bleed, willing to fail, and willing to work until your bones ache. This is the architecture of Stoic action. It is raw, it is unapologetic, and it is the only true path out of the matrix of modern illusion. The time for dreaming is over. The time for building has begun. The journey from the paralyzing delusion of magical thinking to the liberating forge of Stoic pragmatism demands a radical reinvention of how we interact with reality. For too long, modern culture has sold us the seductive but toxic lie of manifestation, whispering that our thoughts alone can bend an indifferent universe to our will. This passive philosophy breeds fragility, trapping us in a perpetual cycle of anxiety and victimhood when life inevitably introduces friction. True empowerment does not come from wishing away the storm, it is forged by building an unbreakable ship. By deeply internalizing the dichotomy of control, we sever the exhausting need to play God and redirect our finite energy toward the only things we truly command, our perceptions, our choices, and our relentless daily actions. By embracing amor fati, we stop fleeing from pain and start consuming adversity as the very fuel required for our transformation. We abandon the fleeting rush of motivation to construct a cold, unyielding architecture of discipline, laying one boring brick at a time, indifferent to immediate applause. Ultimately, the death of the passive dreamer births the pragmatic warrior. True freedom is found not in getting whatever we want, but in shouldering absolute responsibility for our own existence. It is a terrifying yet beautiful realization: no cosmic force is coming to save you. The power to endure, conquer, and thrive rests solely within your own calloused hands. The universe is completely indifferent to your desires, and trying to manipulate it through sheer thought creates psychological fragility. True, unshakable power lies in recognizing that your internal effort, not the external outcome, is your only valid metric of success. Adversity, pain, and failure are not negative energies to be avoided, they are the essential, sacred materials required to forge human greatness. You cannot control the world around you, but you hold absolute, unapologetic authority over your response to it. Audit your control. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by anxiety or fear, immediately draw a firm mental line. If a problem falls outside your direct physical control, the economy, the opinions of others, the final outcome of a project, mentally drop it. Redirect 100% of your focus to the immediate action right in front of you. Build systems, ignore feelings, stop waiting for the perfect mood or a burst of motivation to start working. Build an unyielding daily routine and make your decisions in advance. When the alarm goes off, do not negotiate with your emotions, simply execute the script like a machine. Consume the friction. The next time you face a rejection, a failure, or an unexpected hardship, do not complain or try to positively affirm it away. Look at the wreckage and say, "This is exactly what I needed." Actively extract the lesson and use that very obstacle as your new path forward. What is one boring brick or daily habit you are laying right now to build your future, regardless of whether you feel motivated to do it or not? Please share your thoughts in the comments below so we can all learn and draw inspiration from each other's discipline. If you found value in this philosophy and want to continue exploring the harsh but empowering truths of self-mastery, please subscribe to the channel. Your support gives us the absolute drive to keep forging and delivering more impactful content like this. Thank you for watching and building with us.